What's up, folks? It's the brother AJ back here with another Prince Thoughts. This one should be special because it's a big anniversary. That's right, we're talking about the 40th anniversary of Prince's Purple Rain movie. And since it's the 40th anniversary, I feel we should do a little take on it. I'd like to talk about it from the perspective of, what it meant when it came out, what it meant in my life, what it meant in his life, and then how that thing just steamrolled and became what it was. So let's talk about it. How this young, small in stature, upstart, young black musician coming up out of North Minneapolis, he was now working on his 6th album. He received honorable mention on albums 1 through 4, but they didn't make major noise. Albeit his 5th album, he started receiving massive notoriety because that was 1999, and with the advent of MTV playing his eye-catching videos, how did he then capture and electrify the entire planet with his movie and album of the same name, Purple Rain? Neither he nor any of his bandmates / friends who starred in the movie, they had no previous acting experience. They had a first-time director, a small budget of $7 million, and it was filmed in Minneapolis during the winter. How dare they think that this had any chance of success, right? Well, stay tuned as I paint this picture of how one of the most unlikeliest journeys from being just a star turned into being a global, international superstar in one incredible season. Where was AJ in his life? I was 24 years old. I was 3 years into my 42-year PSE&G utility world career. I had moved into my very first apartment in Hackensack, New Jersey, living on my own for the very first time in my life. I had a 1968 Rambler Ambassador Classic, which I had in 1981. And in 1983, I got a 1978 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. So I was starting to move up in my own life as I was trying to figure things out. My firstborn child, my daughter Kiana, she turned 2 that year. And she was the reason that I had to start getting my life together, because I had to make sure I could take care of not just myself, but I also had to make sure I could take care of her. That year, the Super Bowl ran an incredible ad. If you remember George Orwell's 1984 movie, well, there was a commercial by Apple for their Macintosh computer that played upon those dystopian world themes. When you saw the young woman run down, she had the hammer and she threw it in the screen and shattered the screen. That commercial was mind-breaking as we were starting to go from being in that generation we were, moving into the technology generation, where now this is normal. Back then, that wasn't normal. The way I'm talking to you on this computer wasn't normal, okay? Marvin Gaye was shot and killed by his father. Ronald Reagan was the president of the United States. And where was Prince at? Well, in 1980, Prince opened up for Rick James on the Fire It Up tour. There was definitely some healthy animosity that was created during that time. I won't say it was pure on hatred. It was just healthy competition from 2 young brothers trying to establish themselves in the game. Prince was the opening act. He only had 3 albums worth of material to pull from. Rick was the headliner. He had 4 albums. And then the following year, Rick James delivered his Street Songs album, which went multi-platinum 4 times. That gave us Give It To Me Baby, Super Freak, Fire and Desire, that incredible duet with him and Tina Marie. And in 81, Prince opened up for the Rolling Stones. And that was a disastrous entity for him, because they were booed off the stage. Stuff was thrown at them. Matter of fact, on that first show, Prince walked up stage, got in his jet, jetted back to Minneapolis. He had to be coerced into coming back on the tour for the second night. Second night, the fans were ready. They threw all kind of manner of stuff with him. But I think that was a pivotal point in Prince's life, because it steeled him to push him to greater heights. The albums that Prince cut before Purple Rain, his debut, 1978, For You, featured a song called Soft and Wet that made a little noise. 1979, self-titled Prince, smash hit with I Want to Be Your Lover. And he had Sexy Dancer, which was a little dance club song that kind of made some noise. 1980, he dropped Dirty Mind. The title track, Dirty Mind, also When You're Mine and Party Up. I mentioned those 3 albums consecutively because when he was signed to a 3-album deal. First album didn't really make any noise. Second album, he started bubbling up. Folks saw, if you listen to the whole album, you can hear the eclecticness that he was going to be for his life because he put that all on his second album. And his third album, Dirty Mind, he had a $170,000 budget for all 3 records. He basically blew almost the whole budget on his first album, had enough money to do the second album. By the time he got to Dirty Mind, he was running on fumes. So it's stripped down, lean, mean. It's like a punk, funk, rock record that we kind of love. Critically acclaimed. Maybe it didn't hit with the particular groups that it was looking for, but for us hardcore fans looking for something different, it struck a nerve with us. 1981, he dropped Controversy. Just like with Dirty Mind with the title track, the Controversy single was an amazing jam that gave you another glimpse into who he was going to be. He also had an incredible dance workout called Let's Work. Matter of fact, on Dirty Mind, he had a song called Head, but because it was so raunchy and, you know, the sexual innuendos on that was so nasty, you didn't really hear that played on mainstream radio. Let's Work was a little bit easier to take. And then in 1982, he dropped 1999. 1999 was the album that launched Prince to the fans because he had a 1999, the title track, which was just an amazing jam. But the song that truly broke him was a song called Little Red Corvette, because now MTV was coming along and Prince strategically did videos for 1999, Little Red Corvette, dance music, sex, romance. And at that time, they were not playing black artists on MTV. So the fact that he got videos played on MTV was a feather in his cap. And it was the exposure that started getting him that notoriety. But let's be clear, it was the music. The music on those records were just incredible. 1999, Little Red Corvette, and dance music, sex, romance, let you know that this dude was coming. It was his 5th studio album, and it became his first album to be recorded with him in the band The Revolution. He was basically doing things by himself. He was that one-man entity. It received critical and commercial success, and it was Prince's first top 10 album. It charted at number 9 when it was released, and by the end of the year it was number 5 on the Billboard year-end albums for 1983. So this was putting Prince on the map where you could finally see who he was. And little sidebar note, International Lover, the ballad on that project, was actually nominated for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance at the 26 Grammy Awards. That was Prince's first Grammy nomination. He's coming, right? Another thing about that record, as I said, the videos. The videos truly are what made Prince become visual to the world. And this album was certified 4 times platinum by the recording industry. So here he was. He was on his way. But guess what happened? The following year, in 1983, this guy, I could call him by his initials, MJ, could call him by his first name, Michael, because Prince's competition at that time was truly Rick James and Michael Jackson. Prince made his album that was finally got people to really check for him, and Michael Jackson released Thriller. Thriller was his 6th studio album, and it was produced by Quincy Jones. Michael got a Beatle, Paul McCartney, to appear on it, and it was the first credited appearance of a featured artist on a Michael Jackson album. Michael had a $750,000 budget. Remember I told you Prince's first 3 albums? $170,000 for all 3 albums? For this one album, Michael's budget was literally $750,000. Thriller became Michael Jackson's first #1 album, and it spent 37 non-consecutive weeks at #1 on the charts from February of '83 to April of '84. 7 singles were released from that project, and it set a record for the most top 10 singles from one album. Michael was on fire. It literally began selling 1 million copies a week. It ended up selling 32 million copies worldwide by the end of 1983, and it became the best-selling album of all time. It was the best-selling album worldwide 83 and 84. 2 years in a row, this record was dominating, right? And it also gave Michael some cultural influence, because now he also got into the video game, and his videos were mind-blowing. The video for Billie Jean was incredibly special, and not to mention when he did it on Motown 25, Michael was on a whole different level. Matter of fact, he even had an audience with President Reagan, just to show you how fast his start took off, even though we've known Michael literally his whole life. Thriller still remains the best-selling album of all time, selling an estimated 120 million copies to date. Okay? So, this is what Prince was up against. But let me show you a little bit of Prince's maniacal genius. The 1983 Billboard Top 100, number 2 was Billie Jean, number 5 was Beat It, number 25 was Prince's Little Red Corvette, number 41 was Prince's 1999, number 68 was Michael's Wanna Be Starting Something, and we rounded out with number 89, Michael's Human Nature. These are the top 100 of 1983. Well, there was a record number 44 on that chart. And how does it tie in? Well, number 44 is a record you know by a lady from Fleetwood Mac. Her name is Stevie Nicks. The song is called Stand Back. She tells the story. She wrote it on the day of her wedding to Kim Anderson, which was January 29, 1983. They were driving to a ranch in Santa Barbara, and Prince's Little Red Corvette came on the radio. Stevie Nicks started humming along to the melody, and she was inspired by the synthesizers and the melody. They found a tape recorder, and she recorded a demo in the honeymoon suite that night. I wonder how old boy felt, because he's trying to get it in, and here she's, but you know, we're artists, and we're sensitive about our issue. You gotta let us do what we do. So, she recorded the demo, and when she went to the studio to record the song, she called Prince, and she told him the story of how she wrote the song to his melody. On the night of February 8th, 1983, Prince came to the studio and played synthesizers on it. Although he is uncredited on the album, he and Stevie Nicks agreed to split the publishing royalties on the song 50-50. Then she says he got up and left as the whole thing happened in a dream. Let's go back a little bit. When Prince tells the story, he says he rolls into the studio. She was there with some people. They didn't know how to work the drum machine. He programs up a drum beat. He hears what they're doing, lays down some stuff on keys, and nodded, and he bounced out the door. That song ended up being number 44 on the Billboard Top 100. Okay? Now, Prince is working on his Purple Rain project. It was his 6th studio album, just as Thriller was Michael Jackson's 6th studio album. It was released as a soundtrack, not just a traditional record. It's the soundtrack to this movie that is going to come out. And it was much denser than his previous work. It had more of a full band sound, had multi-layers with the guitars, keyboards, electronic drums, sound effects, and all this instrumentation. Purple Rain is probably Prince's most pop-oriented record of his career, because he's super eclectic, heavy funk stuff, heavy rock, definitely got pop sensibilities. But it was the music video for the lead single, When Doves Cry, that was the shot heard around the world. It definitely sparked controversy because of the sexual nature of the video. Remember, he was in a bathtub naked. He gets out the tub, he crawls over on all fours, the way he's singing all sensual. You know how Prince is. And that was a little too much for the executives that were delivering the TV videos, so they kind of had to modify it a little bit. Not to mention the lyrics that came along with Darlin' Nikki that Tipper Gore who was the wife of then Vice President Al Gore, and the Parents Music Resource Center, they're the people that put those yellow stickers on records about explicit material. There was no stickers prior to that. So Prince and other acts that were delivering that kind of raunchy content were the drivers of why those stickers are on those albums now. So Purple Rain became Prince's first album to reach #1 on the Billboard 200. It spent 24 weeks at the Billboard 200, and it was present on the charts for a total of 167 weeks. When Doves Cry and Let's Go Crazy, they both reached #1 on the Billboard Top 100. Purple Rain peaked at #2, and I Would Die For You made it all the way up to #8. The album was certified 13 times platinum in '96, and at Prince's commercial peak, it was about 25 million copies worldwide. It was one of the best-selling albums of all time. He won Grammy Awards for the Best Rock Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocals, Best Score for the Soundtrack for Visual Media, and he also won an Academy Award for the Best Original Song Score for the film Purple Rain. The critics, they loved the experimentation of the record. They freaked out when he removed the bass line from When Doves Cry. He was able to blend everything from that electronic sound, the organic natural instruments, the full band. He just had this it factor that was working, and Purple Rain has been ranked among the greatest albums of all time. Rolling Stone ranked it #8 in 2020 of the 500 greatest albums of all time. It was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame and added to the Library of Congress's National Recording Registry. That's the list of sound recordings that are culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. He recorded the album between July of '83 and March of '84. And this marked Prince's first album that included live recordings, because he used the full band on some of the tracks for this record. People asked Prince, what does Purple Rain mean? And he said, when there's blood in the sky, red and blue equal purple. Purple rain pertains to the end of the world and being with the one you love and letting your faith/God guide you through the purple rain. So you can hear the spiritual overtones that he started taking on as he got more mature in his lifestyle. An interesting fact about Purple Rain, the song. It was originally written as a country song and was intended to be a collaboration with Stevie Nicks, hence the connection. According to Nicks, she said she received a 10-minute instrumental version of the song, and Prince wanted her to write lyrics on it. She said she was overwhelmed. She said she listened to it, she got scared, and she couldn't do it. She was like, she didn't want to mess the song up. She said she wished she could, but she said it was too much. So at rehearsal with his band, he said, hey, I want you to try something before we go home. And they started playing it. Well, this is according to Lisa Coleman, his keyboard player. Prince changed it after hearing what the guitar player, Wendy Melvoin, started doing with the chords that she was adding to it, and he heard it voiced in a different manner, so it stopped being a country song, and then they started playing it with a little bit more of an edge and more bluesy, a little more rocket, and she said they played it for 6 hours straight, and by the end of that day, they had it mostly written in a range. Take Me With You was written for Apollonia's 6th album, and it was going to be delivered on their project, but he later added that song to the Purple Rain soundtrack. The risque lyrics of Darlin' Nikki definitely contribute to that parental sticker that we spoke about, because as I said, Tipper Gore and the PMRC, they was not having it. You know, it's talking about sort of sitting in a hotel lobby masturbating in a magazine. You know what I'm saying. He also added the lead single When Doves Cry after he had one more song for the soundtrack, and he came back with When Doves Cry. He played all the instruments on that track, and then after he had it all together, he took the bass line out. No one saw it. That's the most unconventional move in history, to remove the bass line in a pop song, which was crazy, crazy. The tracks on that album, remember we're talking vinyl. Side 1, Let's Go Crazy, Take Me With You, The Beautiful Ones, Computer Blue, Darlin' Nikki. You flip it over, Side 2, When Doves Cry, I Would Die For You, Baby I'm a Star, and Purple Rain. The cover, I don't know if you can see on my screen behind me, and there's also a poster on the wall back here. They just shot that cover on the Warner Brothers backlot out in California. The area is known as Hennessy Street, and it was made to look like a New York City scene. And the balcony was there, and they put Apollonia on the balcony, Prince on the motorcycle, some smoke, blacked it out a little bit, and there was that iconic cover for this movie that was on the way. The lead single, When Doves Cry, was Prince's first #1 single, staying there for 5 weeks, and was also a worldwide hit. It was ranked #1 on the Billboard year-end Hot 100 singles in 1984. The music video, which was directed by Prince, premiered on MTV in June of '84. As I said, the video sparked some controversy because it was a little explicit for them. The second single, Let's Go Crazy, became Prince's second #1 to hit the Hot Billboard 100. Many believe that you can again hear Prince's religious overtones because they believe that phrase when he's talking about, "Let's gonna let the elevator take us down." They say the elevator was talking about the devil. And Prince started converting to Jehovah's Witness, and he stopped walking away from his raunchy stuff and the sexual stuff he did in his youth, and started turning the corner to be a little bit more particular about what he was doing. The ballad Purple Rain, that's a combination of rock, R&B, gospel with some incredible string orchestration. That reached #2, and it stayed there for 2 weeks. I Would Die For You was the 4th and final top 100 hit for Prince that year. And it reached #8, and it just showed you that he hit a gold mine with this album. And that was '84. His final single was actually Take Me With You, but that was released in '85, so it didn't make the 1984 charts.